Welcome to your Daily 5 for Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. For our common watch movie, or our watch together movie, or whatever we're calling it, since we still don't have a title for it, Lando originally had selected one of the female prisoner Scorpion films, but then when it came time to actually watch it, he really just wasn't in the mood for a movie like that, so we fell back to another movie that was on our list, a 2020 Argentinian film titled History of the Occult. Now, I knew the very bare bones about this movie going into it. I knew that it was a movie that was, to a degree, similar to that Late Night with the Devil film, in that it revolved around a TV program that was trying to uncover something, and things started to get very weird. But I really didn't read much else about it. So we went into it with very limited knowledge, and really I think it was all my knowledge. Lando didn't know much about it at all, except that it wasn't an American film, and we knew the basics of the premise. And I don't know what either of us really expected going into it, but I'm pretty sure that neither of us expected to come out of this movie thinking it was absolutely magnificent. Probably one of the better movies of its type I've seen in an awfully long time. And Lando is on the same page. We'll be talking about it, of course, in the Friday show tomorrow. But this movie really impressed both of us and surprised both of us, because I don't think I thought it was going to be bad. I read too many good reviews of it to expect it not to be entertaining, but a movie that really engrossed and engaged us to such a degree that some of the important details of the movie that explain certain things, we completely missed because we were so interested in what was going on. We were analyzing scene-by-scene details in some cases, which did lead us to overlook certain kind of bigger hints. But the reality is, without even knowing any of that, because now I've looked a couple things somewhat accidentally up, and I'll talk about those tomorrow, but even without the knowledge of certain things that were pointed out when I read some of the kind of reactions to it, it still works as a movie, even if you don't necessarily pick up, as neither of us did. There is a major plot point, which I will not give away, that neither of us noticed. And I only, in looking up some things after the fact, realized, wow, we both completely missed this. But even without knowing that, we were both kind of like, wow, what is this? What does this ending actually mean? But it was well set up so that even if you missed some of the clues that were in the film as to most of what is going on, it doesn't damage the film at all in terms of what the narrative is doing. It's still a very engaging mystery where you're trying to follow what's going on. You're not really sure who the reliable and unreliable narrator's on. There's some really clever use of color and aspect ratio to clue you in on some things that are happening, which you might actually miss for a while because you're so invested. And that is the mark of a film that is successful, even if you're not getting everything that's being presented to you, which, by the way, makes me want to rewatch it now, to rewatch it and go through and actually pay attention to more, which also, the mark of a very, very effective film, is when I immediately want to rewatch it and start picking up details. But the fact that we missed some really big things and still got to the end going, wow, interesting, what do you think happened, and had kind of a discussion, not much of one, we saved most of it for the show, but we were kind of at the end for a few minutes going, interesting. Does that mean this? What do you think that was? And we were just kind of talking, and that's really something rare, where the two of us are, because normally when we do these movies and we end them, we usually just cut it there, and then we'll talk about it in the show, but we're not usually kind of sitting there mulling it over actively just as soon as the film ended. And we both said, wow, this was a lot better than we necessarily would have expected. Again, I thought it was going to be entertaining, at least to me. I did not know if it would be successful for Lando. He's not as much into horror films. But the way this movie handles its suspenseful and horror elements, I think it could work for almost anybody. I even actually want to watch this movie with my wife, just to get her reaction to it, because I think it's so well done. So, and I don't even know how I came across it. I think it was because I was looking at stuff for Late Night with the Devil, and there were some references saying, hey, if you like this, you're going to really like this. Kind of making, not necessarily saying one is better than the other. They're not identical films, but as a comparison point to the way they're formatted and what they're doing and like their narrative device. And so I just kind of decided to watch this one because it was an American, and boy, I'm really glad I did. I don't know if that's going to impact watching Late Night with the Devil, but I don't think so. I think this is doing its own thing, and I think it's doing it with a high degree of success and confidence. So if you can watch History of the Occult, you absolutely should, because it is dynamite. Later.